folks. It's time for us to get started. We want to welcome everybody who is watching our web broadcast tonight for the presidential debates. We are hosting a roundtable live here at KZIM KSIM with people chosen from the community from a diverse background of not only politics, but life in general. So we're going to go around the table quickly and tell everybody who we are and where we're from. And then we're going to get into a discussion about not only the presidential candidates, but who our favorite is maybe before they do the debates. And then after the debate is finished, we're going to come back and give our reaction to that. In the future, if you would like to be on one of these roundtable discussions, we'd love to have you. All you have to do is send us an email to kzim@riverradio.net, and your name will go into a drawing where only 10 people are allowed at each one of these, or that's all we have capacity for in this room. But we feed you, we talk to you, you get a t-shirt, and you get to watch the debate. So without further ado, let's start on this side of the table, and the microphone will pick you up as you're talking, okay?
Scott R. Clark. I serve on the state committee for the Republican Party. I live in Jackson, Missouri, and I represent our area as far as Republicans go on the state committee. I'm involved in presidential politics in this regard. I'm on the rules writing committee right now for writing the rules of how Missouri will conduct its Republican primary system. So
Very good. And Holly?
Hi, I'm Holly Lintner. I am the chair of the Cape County Republican Party, and I am the national executive director of the Pachyderm Club.
And she's awesome. Marilyn?
Marilyn Neville. I'm with the, I live in Zelma. I'm with the Bollinger County Story Project as a director. I'm originally from Minnesota, a very liberal state, and I used to be never just Republican, but now I am just a Republican. In fact, I'm a conservative.
Okay. All right. Doug?
Doug Austin, Cape Girardeau, America. I'm a committee chairperson for Precinct 7, big time supporter of Cape Girardeau, and a senior citizen advocate.
Very nice. Boyce?
I'm Boyce Holt, owner of All Media Services and past president of Tri-State Advertising and Marketing Professionals. I own an ad agency and worked with the first election of Todd Richardson, the House Speaker now, and then Doug Leibler, State Senator from District 25, and glad to be here tonight.
Excellent. Thanks for being here. Dylan?
My name is Dylan Reagan. I'm the son of the great Fawn Reagan.
There you go.
I'm just an average Joe guy, just here to try to make a point and enjoy
And make a difference in this world. He's here. And we wanted to bring in people of different ages and different backgrounds and people who would be interested in the GOP candidates. And I did have someone ask, why do you not have, liberals in the room? We'll get to Michael in just one second. And I said, because they're probably not going to vote for the GOP candidate anyway. So we're going to try to pick our candidate tonight. And then as we get closer to the presidential election, then we will switch it up a little bit. And without further ado, Michael.
I'm Michael Tennisgetter. I work in healthcare as a surgical assistant, and I've been involved in quite a bit of these Republican groups and stuff. And so I just find politics very interesting and love Fawn Reagan. So
Oh, thank you. He's like a son to me. And I know that you got to meet someone very special when they were in our state a few years back.
I did. I got to meet President George W. Bush. So that was pretty awesome to be able to meet somebody like that.
Yeah, so we all will just touch him a little because he got to shake hands with George W. Bush. All right, we want to talk tonight about the candidates who made the top 10. I personally was upset that Carly Fiorina did not make the top 10. How do you all feel about that?
I think I would have liked to have seen her in there. I think she brings certainly an interesting perspective, an outside of the political sphere perspective to the discussion table. So I would have liked to have seen her on the stage as well.
Yeah, what do you think, Doug?
I have two opinions. One is the field is so crowded, sometimes it's hard to keep them separate. But the other one is, this is America, for crying out loud. If you want to run, run. So I welcome it, and I welcome tonight so I can sort through all this a little bit better and help educate some people, including myself.
I was wondering if you were going to announce your candidacy when you got here tonight.
I'm borderline.
Okay. Anybody else shocked that some of that were not in the top tier did not make it? Any of your favorites not get there?
I'm really upset she didn't make it.
Yeah.
But I understand from your statistics that she was the top tonight in the underlings.
Okay, excellent. We've got Wayne Wallingford here too. We've got an extra chair for you right up here, Wayne. Wayne Wallingford is going to join our discussion group, and we are talking about the GOP candidates. Before we get into the debates for tonight, Wayne, we do have an ambient microphone, so it's right in the middle of the table. It will pick you up. Tell everybody who you are and if they don't already know.
I'm Wayne Wallingford, State Senator for District 27.
All right. And we have Scott and Holly, who you probably know.
I do.
Marilyn Neville,
Hi, Marilyn.
Doug Austin, Boyce Holt, my son, Dylan Riggin, and Michael Tennisketter.
Great.
All right. And thank you for being here. You have all the bios of the candidates in front of you. And we were just discussing about the people who did not make the top 10. I was upset that Carly Fiorina wasn't in there. I was a little bit confounded that Rick Perry wasn't in there as well. Anybody not make the top 10 that you were kind of hoping would?
Well, I thought maybe Bobby Jindal might make the top 10 myself, but he
Yeah.
didn't either.
You know, and I heard a spot on Hannity today where it's one of the Democrats, or I guess I'm going to say liberal because a good Democrat wouldn't say this. They said that all of the GOP candidates are disliking of women. They dislike women's rights, and they don't like anyone who isn't a white man. And I'm like, really? Because they're not all white men. That's kind of shocking to me.
Yeah.
We have a very diverse crowd. How do you all feel about the lack of media attention to the fact that we do have such a diverse crowd? Scott?
Well, I think Lindsey Graham, whether you like him or not, he had an excellent line where he said, if you want to know about a war on women, come to Iraq and Afghanistan with me and I'll show you a real war on women. And I think that puts it in perspective, you know, that they claim that we're against women. I'm really not for sure how they come up with this, but they say it, and apparently their is the rest of everybody else's reality.
They found it was with Mitt Romney. Boyce, how about you?
Well, and again, it's the optics, and one of those lines, like with Romney, when he fell into a trap, and they utilized that binder example, and it's
Which
as
is silly.
it's as simple as that, though, and that. And you're going to see that tonight. There's going to be moments and times where you're going to hear specific phrases, specific labels, and there will be people trying to label their opponents, and certainly Donald Trump will be the target tonight. And you'll see that happen time and time again, which is what we're talking about here in terms of the Republican Party and a lack of diversity. You know, you mentioned Ms. Farina, and you know, I think that's probably the tragedy of her not being in the primary debate, because simply of who's there and who's not there.
She may be, though. One of these guys after the debate may fall out of the percentages,
Exactly.
and she could be in there next time. So that's exciting. I think that that's a possibility.
It is going to happen.
Yes.
If
Marilyn's
she's
sure of
not-
it.
I know it,
Okay.
because if she's not the president, I bet she's the vice president.
That could be. All good points. Anyone who runs for office these days has to be almost squeaky clean. I don't know why anyone runs anymore ever, because as a liberal you can get away with all this, but as a Republican you can never have sneezed. So it's a very difficult thought process. I don't know how you did it, Wayne. I mean, you're as squeaky clean as they come, and I'm sure they still find things to attack you
I saw
for.
him sneeze once.
Did you? Just once?
I know
Okay.
some strong Democrats that love you.
Yeah, I think everyone
That's
loves
why.
Wayne, and he remembers everyone's name. It's the freakiest thing. I don't know how he does that. But tonight I am going to be looking for certain things in the candidates. I want to make sure I've studied them so I know if they're telling the truth or not while they do this debate. And the first one who says comprehensive, I'm just telling you, comprehensive immigration laws, I'm not voting for them. Whoever says those two words in one sentence, they're done. I don't care which one it is, even if it's my favorite, because I'm all in for Ben. Everybody knows that from listening to my show. I even have this, so let me just get that out and get it out of the way. Yay! Okay, all right. So the first one that says that, though, doesn't understand that if we just enforce the laws that we have, we wouldn't have problems at all. We need to erect the wall, and we just need to enforce the laws, right, Wayne?
Yes, and that's what Arizona tried to do a few years back, is just kind of write their state laws like the federal laws. But yet the courts came down and said, no, that wasn't fair, which totally surprised me, because they weren't any more strict than federal laws.
Okay, all right. And around the table, Holly, what are you looking for? What do you want to hear tonight?
Freshness.
And we'll start
Freshness.
the
I'm tired of the catchphrases. I'm tired of the cliches. I like the rough around the edges. And so people like Donald Trump, they can shake up a lot of things, but you know, I like to hear the rawness and the real and not the people who have been so surrounded by the political voice that they don't know what Michael and I feel.
Mm-hmm. And Michael, what do you feel? What are you hoping to see or hear?
Exactly, just mimicking Holly. I'm tired of the fake smiles and the fake promises and just the career politicians. With Trump coming in kind of out of left field, I know he's been saying he's running. You know, every year he's going to say he's running, but this time he's actually for real. I'm really excited. He's been talking a lot of, I don't like this. We're very clear on what he's not about, but I'm very interested for tonight to see what he is about. So I do like a lot of what he says that he doesn't support. So I'm really excited for that.
I am too. I think he's like trying to herd cats. It's going to be so fun. I think he has one on his head too. I'm not sure. But Doug, how about you? What do you?
Well, I think most of us in our country are tired of the double speak and politically correct
And the fuzzy math
conversations
statements.
and
Yeah.
the sound bites. And I'm hungry for someone to run for the office and quit running against everyone else. Tell me what you want to do. I'm hungry for that. And I hope I see that tonight.
I think you might. Marilyn?
I'm sick of sugarcoating. I want to know the how. I want to hear the meat.
Mm-hmm. I think we will. I honestly think that the others are going to take a hint from Donald because, I mean, clearly the media's tried to drag his name through the mud. Doesn't work because he's already done some of the worst things we can possibly imagine and he's survived them. I mean, the guy went from what, almost $1 trillion worth or whatever the number is down to 900 million and then was almost bankrupt and brought himself back up into the billions. The man knows how to run a business, which means he knows how to run a country, in my opinion.
Brave.
Yeah. What about you, Boyce? What do you hope to hear tonight?
Well, and you're hearing this resentment, this raw emotion around the table. And what the polls will tell you, that the people held in the least esteem are congressmen and presidential politicians, period. And it's just a perception of exactly what has been reflected in the comments around the table today. So, and everybody would love to hear a positive campaign about what you stand for, but what the people who run these elections know is that you will be motivated to vote against somebody more so than you will for somebody. And that's the tragedy of it. It's got to be an educational process. And what I'm hoping is that this is truly a upswelling of the revolt of that kind of campaign. Somebody who's been involved in some elections here and with Republican candidates. We broke the norm. We went early. And we went early with an image campaign that identified these candidates before any of that started. And I think it made a difference. And I wish that the rest of the country would follow. But this is an entrenched strategy that, you know, quite frankly, political parties and candidates will not run from because they know it works. And there is the conundrum that we're all in.
Unless they're Wayne Wallingford.
Yeah.
He's a real guy.
Yeah.
He is real.
He doesn't throw dirt. And Dylan, how about you? What are you hoping to hear tonight?
I don't know, just different stuff. I'm sick of the same old stuff they say all the time. False promises, I'm with them. I'm ready for a pit bull. I'm ready for someone to go in there, make America great again, and stop lying to our face. You know, I'm tired of the secrets. I want someone I can look to get the job done and stop pulling our chain. That's kind of what I'm ready for.
Well, you cited someone's campaign slogan, so make America great again, you know, so he wants to turn it back. He's been called Reagan-esque, which I think is a stretch. I know that Rudy Giuliani is the one that said that, I believe.
Earlier today, that was commented on.
That kind of hurt my feelings a little bit because I am just so enamored of Ronald Reagan that, I mean, the guy, as far as I'm concerned, should be we should go get some of his stem cells and bring him back because he was just that magnanimous. But he started out as a liberal till he grew up and grew a brain and then decided that, you know, he wanted the country to survive.
When I was a kid, I didn't like him. I thought, you are a little mouthy. But remember, I'm from Minnesota. Very liberal.
Yeah, the land of 1,000 lakes and everyone has a welfare
Was that
check.
the only state he didn't get in his reelection was Minnesota?
No surprise.
Well, you have to remember they also elected Jesse Ventura as their governor.
I know, but I was just saying there might be something to that, you know, fact for you that you came from the only state out of 50 to never have voted for Ronald Reagan in the Electoral College.
He was a rock star, and we need another rock star. We need someone that can go toe-to-toe with a guy like Putin.
They were pushing it in school. I remember the hate that I had, I actually was very angry at those who liked that kind of politics.
Wow, that's very liberal-esque.
Sad.
Yeah, I mean, the hateful attitude towards people who don't agree with you. And
Mhm.
I don't care if someone doesn't agree with me. I actually respect them for being, showing me the kind of love that I would show them for listening to what they have to say. Tonight, again, we are on KZIM KSIM.com. We are doing our pre-debate roundtable discussion with members from our surrounding communities and from Cape Girardeau, Jackson and beyond, and Bullinger County. And we're talking a little bit about the candidates, what we're hoping to see, what we don't want to see. And we will continue this all the way up until 8 o'clock when we go to Fox Live. And we will then go to dark and watch this with our mics off so we can scream and yell at the television like everyone will be at home. And then we will be back after the debates are over to see if we heard what we wanted to hear. So that's the gist of what we're doing tonight. Phyllis Schlafly sent something to my email, and she said, these are the questions she wants asked tonight. Do you support and assist the effort to completely defund Planned Parenthood? She wants that question asked tonight. I got goosebumps even talking about it. I'm so angry. I cannot put into
Nauseous.
words how angry it is making me when I'm seeing. I mean, Dylan has a son coming in about 3 to 4 weeks.
Mhm.
His third child, his third son, my grandbaby. And I cannot imagine that being a choice.
Yeah.
You know, it escapes my mind. But as a politician, and I'm not 100% pro-life because I believe in the death penalty. I'm anti-abortion. Okay, so there's a big difference there because
Yes.
I'm
Killing the
100% pro-innocent life.
Yep.
But you know, let's give them a chance. But what do you think we would hear if they asked that question tonight?
Well, I'm with you, Fawn, that I'm 100% pro-life, and I don't have trouble with the death penalty because, as you said, innocent life, there's a big difference between those two. So I think that's going to be a big issue to get out the conservative votes this year, that people express fervently that they are definitely pro-life and would do everything they can to reverse the trend in this country currently.
Yeah, and I have to give Mike Rennick credit for the anti-abortion as opposed to 100% pro-life, because he and I were discussing this, and we have different views on different things. But he's such a good guy, and he said that if you are pro-death penalty, then you're not 100% pro-life, and he's right. So I have to no longer call myself that because he's right. And I love that term now. I'm anti-abortion. That's what I am. I'm pro-innocent life. How about you, Scott? Do you want to hear that tonight?
I think it's certainly an important question that needs to be asked of all of them. I think they're all probably going to give the same answer. I would hope that they would all give the same answer, and that is absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine, though, that there's some of them who may not be as staunch about it because they don't want to be accused of cutting $500 million from women's health care budget.
How is killing a baby someone's health care? I would say it's the exact opposite of that.
Exactly. You know, how can you call it health care? It's health care for everybody except for the child, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe. You know, that's a hard
Yeah.
line
Your
to
body,
draw right there.
someone else's body. Okay. Holly, how about you?
I do want to hear him talk about it, especially in the scope of the Planned Parenthood mess that we have. But I also want to hear a lot more about the economy and issues, how we're going to get out of this mess, how we're going to make America great. Not just because I think Trump is amazing. I'm not touting that for that reason. But I do want to bring us back to that. And I don't know if we want to continue to drudge so much in the social issues. But I do think because of Planned Parenthood and that being a current issue, we do need to talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
But hopefully we have a wide range of issues and we cannot just talk about people's social beliefs.
Right.
You know, it's interesting. Holly brings up the economy. If you look at the Fox News poll that was just put out recently that was used to help determine who was in the debate, if you look at the list of issues, the top 5 were the economy, terrorism, healthcare, federal deficit, and immigration. For our age demographic, 35 and under, at least for me, 35% of those said the economy was a bigger issue than terrorism at 6%.
Yeah.
Was an issue for them. If you look at the demographic of 55 plus, the economy was 25% of an issue, but terrorism was 13%, almost double. So our age group's not worried about terrorism. We're more worried about jobs in the economy
Not Cecil the Lion, is that on there?
I didn't see
No.
Cecil the Lion.
No.
Abortion was on here, and everybody was 2% basically across the board as an important issue for them. Climate change, interestingly enough, for age demographic was 6%, or I'm sorry, 8% versus 3% for the 55-year-old plus. So,
Okay.
you know, that's one of those things that I find interesting. I'm not concerned about a climate change. I'm concerned about the economy.
Yeah. I think that's
and
the bottom line.
That's the bottom line that I want to see discussed tonight is what are you going to do with the economy? What is your tax policy? Do you have a tax policy?
Mhm.
I haven't heard everybody's tax policy yet.
Ted Cruz
so.
is total flat tax, I believe, is what he wants. Or is it fair tax? It's one of the two Fs. I can't remember.
Rand Paul had a flat tax of a 15 or 10%, something like that,
Mhm.
that you would report, and that would be it. That was, I know, his tax policy. I think Ben Carson is advocating for the
Yes.
fair tax.
Yes.
If I understand that correctly. So,
Go, Ben, go.
um,
There's another question here that Phyllis would like to hear asked tonight, and I can't wait until it is because Jeb Bush is going to be sweating. And Marilyn, will bop over to you though. Do you oppose Common Core and other federal educational overreaches by name and support parents' rights to opt their children out of Common Core testing? For those who don't know, Common Core is a government-based educational program that treats your child like a robot. They are getting them ready to work on a line, and that's it. And
I'm not for Common Core.
yeah, and some of the things that they have in Common Core are not things that I want my child to learn as an early age as they want to teach
Let's go
them.
back to Minnesota.
Mhm.
The teachers were trying to influence me at an early age.
Mhm.
And the only kids that were Republicans in the class were the ones whose parents had a business. And so I thought, you know what, the farmers are the little guys. So when you talk about, you know, Democrats were farmers and such,
Mhm.
when you talk about schools influencing, I've learned so much on your show with your guests about how they treat our children in school.
Mhm.
And Jeb Bush is not on my list at all.
I don't even.
Please,
I don't
put
even
him
want him anywhere near the White House. I don't even want him to mow the grass.
in. No.
You know, I don't want him
How
there.
can he be in second place?
I don't know.
I think
Well,
it's the
good name.
Republic. I
the
think
rhinos.
it's the Democrats
Last
who
name.
are
Yep.
also being polled
Yeah.
and wanting him because he's more like them.
well, and Hillary has some of her major donators are also donating to him, and that in and of itself scares me.
Weird.
Yeah. Doug, how about you?
Well, there's a lot of issues going on, including Common Core, that I'm basically against because of the what I call federal overreach. It seems to me like we have elected officials in Washington that have been there so long, they don't even realize what the real world is out here anymore.
Mhm.
And our voice and our opinion and our majority opinion has nothing to do with it. And it just bothers me that they're on that pedestal, they're making decisions for us. We had a problem. We had an opportunity 2 or 3 years ago right here in Cape with a couple of textbooks that was in our school. I think there was like 4 parents went to our school board, presented their case, got the whole thing changed. That school book, which by the way was bad,
Mhm.
was out. And it was just that simple. When the case was presented locally, common sense. Now that's an unusual word, isn't it?
Yeah.
Common sense took over, and our school board ran our show. I'm hungry for that.
Yeah.
We've got smart people right here in America, in the grassroots. Let us make some of those decisions.
I
Yeah.
think it's interesting 4 people were able to make that much of a empowerment statement.
Yeah. Yeah. All they have to do is listen to constituents, and things can be done at the local and the state level much better than at the federal level. Voice.
Quickly.
Well, I agree. You know, I grew up in a great public school system
Mhm.
and had teachers that impacted my life going forward. And I have a sister-in-law that I've watched as a career educator buy her own supplies, make the extra effort, et cetera. So, you know, when it's handled on a local basis and you have professionals who are dedicated to the children that they serve, that's when education works best. And if it's left to that and it's left to caring parents, which, you know, let's be honest, there's the weakness in our education system now. You have kids that don't have parents involved with it. You have kids being raised by their grandparents, if they're lucky to have
Mhm.
grandparents. And there's the failing in many ways. And then it gets complicated by bureaucracies and regulations. But there is the essence of, I think, the future of education is to go back to the community and people who care and control their own. This is a great example to talk about people being involved with their own schools, and I think that solves a lot of problems.
Mhm. And I do want to not go all Trump-esque here, because we didn't broad stroke all educators with that.
That's correct.
We're attacking Common Core
Yeah,
and the
that's
fact
correct.
that the federal government and the NEA want to take over all control. If you leave it to the people who love the children and want to teach them, not Minnesota, because they're all hateful, horrible people. But
Not all of
I'm
them.
from North Dakota, so I know.
But the point I guess I really want to make is we have to have an effective public school system.
Mhm.
That's what built this country to
Yeah.
move forward as it did. There's no doubt about it. And it was part of the Constitution to fund that public school system, to move our country forward. And it is the cornerstone of our success. And we have to reclaim it locally and take responsibility for our children.
Mhm. Dylan, you were brought up in a conservative home, and
Really?
yeah. Well, for the most part, his father was never really political at all, and doesn't really understand what politics, are the way that we're talking about them. They just know who they like, what they're hearing, and that's how a lot of people vote. They vote off of one thing that they hear without learning about the other candidates. Now, you've been looking at the candidates a lot,
Mhm.
okay? I know you're probably against Common Core as much as we are,
Absolutely.
and probably against Planned Parenthood as much as we are.
Absolutely.
Tell me a little bit about how you feel the indoctrination is, because you have kids that are in school right now. Yours will be there soon. So,
Well, we're actually, because of Common Core, we're going to take ours out and homeschool them, because
This
it's
is
so
what's
terrifying.
happening.
I was so against homeschool for the longest time until this Common Core came out, started looking into it and researching it, and I was like, I will not allow my children to be indoctrinated, and they don't want parents involved.
mhm.
I mean, and you look at the U.S. government, who's been messing up quite a bit. You're going to allow them to try and teach our children. It's like you can't even handle your own business up there.
Mhm.
So
Term limits. That's the answer.
exactly.
Do you have
All
a
right.
sign that says no bush? Just like
All right. So, Dylan, as far as what you hear tonight, wouldn't you like to hear Jeb Bush have to answer his support of Common Core?
Absolutely. I'd like to know his true feelings about it, because
Yeah.
there's so much flip flop, and every year is different things. I'm just tired of government being in our lives, period.
Mhm.
It's like you have
Smaller government.
smaller government, more personal choice. Let the community, do what they got to do, and just kind of leave us alone.
Mhm.
Kind of thing.
The other thing that Phyllis sent is commit to securing the border, decreasing the number of legal immigrants and foreign workers coming into the U.S., and deporting all illegal immigrants. Michael, you want to take that one first?
I want to start off with this because working in the healthcare field, when we started having this huge influx of immigrants over the border, illegal immigrants over the border, these weird sicknesses started passing up through the United States. And a lot of this stuff was stuff that we hadn't seen in a long time, and it was coming up from the borders. And if you control that was really scary for us, because we started seeing some stuff coming through, and it passed through Cape, and it's I forget what it was. It was some cough and stuff that we had.
Well, and
And
kids are
whooping cough.
paralyzed.
Yeah, things like
and-
that. Yeah, there's all these random
Pertussis.
diseases.
Yeah.
Yeah, that started
Pertussis.
coming up, and then you could see them veining up if you follow the demographics of where it started hitting, where all these things were coming from. It's like, oh well, this is really interesting. I wonder if that's a coincidence at all. And it's like, no. So I really agree. My mother is an immigrant. She came from South America, and she went through the process. And Southeast Hospital was nice enough when she was going through her visa was about to expire, and they sponsored her to be able to stay here. And she had to go through all that. She had the risk, having to leave the country to go back home because her visa was out. And you get people that are coming up here taking advantage of a lot of our benefits and programs that we have out there. And it makes me really upset. It's like, do what's right, do the right thing.
Send them home.
Right,
That's the right thing.
exactly.
And every time they have a rally, why don't we just drop a big net? I don't understand. They're all right there. Why are we not rounding them up and sending them home? And people.
They've made it quite convenient for us.
Yeah, they have. I mean, they're all saying, stop this. But I get called all sorts of names for that, including racist, which is hilarious if you know who my friends are. But the thing is, these people are here illegally. By their actions of coming here the way that they did, the first thing they did when they got here was break the law. I don't want that to somehow denigrate society, and I don't want people to think that you don't have to do it legally. But right now, it's like a sieve, and we've got to do something. And I want to go back over this way, Dylan. With illegal immigration, I know it's hard enough to get a job right now.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to say that they're taking jobs Americans won't do, because that is just not true. And but they are taking jobs. And I like people to immigrate to this country. You know, people who want to somehow give something to society, be part of society, contribute, pay taxes, become part of the voting process. I want that, but the illegal immigrants are doing nothing but draining us. I almost use a phrase that I can't say on the air here, but they're draining us. So any other comment on that, Dylan?
Well, absolutely. I mean, it's hard to tell because there's a lot of good families and bad families, but I mean, to come through here, it is hard enough to find a job, but you just got to put a lot of effort to it. I mean, I welcome families that want to do good in their life, but it's a lot of knotheads that fall through the cracks that make it look bad for them.
Mm-hmm.
And we're a whole nation full of immigrants, but you know, there's a time when we got to say enough's enough and, you know, protect the people we have here.
Very good. Good. Okay, Doug?
I think my friend Wayne taught me this saying probably 10 years ago. You eat an
Wayne.
elephant one bite at a time. So I think it's simple, really. Secure the border.
Mm-hmm.
Do that. Now, we've got the border secured. Let's work out what is here now and causing all the problems. But it won't do us any good to work on what the problem produced, because the unsecure borders produce this problem.
Continuous.
We can work forever on what the problem produced and never get anywhere. Secure the border, then immediately start on the ones that are here. But secure the border. Why is that so complicated?
Because they want to play the race card.
Exactly right.
That's
And
the
votes.
only reason they want to get the votes. But you know what's funny? The conservative Hispanics
Mm-hmm.
are at a percentage. I don't know if you have that in your cool little stack of numbers there, because he's a numbers guy. But conservative Hispanics overwhelmingly support Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
they do. I would go a little bit further with Doug. I think securing the border is important, but there's a second component that gets overlooked a great deal in the soundbite, and that's that 40% of those who are here illegally overstayed a visa. 40% did not do the right thing. They didn't go home and then come back and go through the right channels.
Or get a sponsor.
Or get a sponsor. They came here on an airplane and they never reported back, and nobody ever tracked them down to say, hey, this piece of paper says that you've expired. You need to go back, and if you want to come back here, then you're going to have to go through the proper channels. And I think that, you know, those individuals who do that, we need to have a system in place that accounts for that. Securing the border is definitely important. We have to
All of them,
that,
not just the Mexican border.
Right. We
All
have
of
a
them.
very large Canadian border as well.
Mhm.
Now, few people cross over in North Dakota because it'd be a long walk. But I think that, you know, you have to take into account all the borders as a national security issue. This is a national security issue. It's a healthcare issue as well. If you look at it from those terms.
Well, and they're trying to come over and have babies so that the kids can
The
stay.
anchor, yes.
That law has to change.
And absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, you know, I don't remember exactly which candidate, but smart immigration, you know, Newt Gingrich in 2008 or
Love him.
whenever he ran,
Yes.
he had one of the best ideas. And I still think that we should adopt this. And that's staple a green card to everybody we hand a diploma to. That comes to God. If you come here and you invest your time and your money to get an education, why in the world should we export our educational knowledge to China or
Mhm.
Japan or another country? Staple a green card and see if those people want to stay here. That's the kind of immigration I want to see, the people who want to come here and better themselves to better the country versus somebody who has broken the law by virtue of coming here to start with.
And is mad that you're not giving them equal rights to people. They're putting them on city council boards out in
Yes.
California. I almost had a heart attack when I read that, but they're getting a big reaction.
Pushback, yes.
Yeah. So
As there should be.
yeah.
But you know, I think Scott really touched on what I think is the serious issue underlying immigration. There's always been an immigration issue in America from the beginning.
Yeah.
And you can track it from one.
Irish.
Yeah, exactly. There you go. You could go down the list. But what happened was that terrorism was a domestic issue in this country through the 1990s. But then as of 2001, terrorism became a foreign threat on our soil. There was an entire Al-Qaeda network that successfully executed the 9/11 attacks. And so all of a sudden, that's equated with immigration. Who's here? How did they get here? What can they do? And so all of a sudden, immigration takes on a totally different perspective of how we see it, because we perceive it as even more of a threat. And you're right. I happened to live on the border once upon a time, not for very long, and this was back in the 80s. And I was impressed with the Border Patrol presence in Arizona then. And it's been dramatically ramped up. I mean, multiple times. And I can't imagine what it's like trying to get back into America. I made the mistake one day of looking at a Border Patrol guy getting back into the country after a business trip to Mexicali, a town of 1 million Mexicans that we were trying to cultivate clients on the other side of the border. Imagine that, 1 million people, and nobody from the television station had ever talked to them about advertising on an NBC affiliate. And it had been another unsuccessful trip, I must admit. Very hot, long lines. And there's a question they ask: do you have $10,000 cash to declare? And I looked at the officer and asked him, do I look like I have $10,000? And that was a serious mistake.
Yeah, right.
Because I'm going to tell you, if they want to find out if you got $10,000 or anything else in that car, there's a way to do it in short order.
They'll leave your doors laying in the on the side of the road.
And 2 lessons learned: always be polite and respectful, and don't ask questions yourself. But then also, I had respect for what these people can do. And I know it's been even more protective, but it's I don't know that you can stop everything. I don't know if you can build that many walls, but I understand that you have to do everything you can, because it is a ultimate threat. And there's where the immigration issue becomes so much more than immigration. It's equated with terrorism, as it should be. And there's our problem. There is the problem we've got to sort out.
We can't even shoot these guys that are shooting at our guys.
Yeah.
You gotta be kidding me.
That is sad to me. That doesn't make any sense. And Wayne, I want you to comment. Ladies and gentlemen, we're on KZIM KSIM.com. This is not on the radio. It is a website only delivered program. We are doing a GOP debate, candidate debate roundtable, if you will, with local community members. And Marilyn is from Bollinger County. We've got people that are not all from Cape Girardeau. People are from the surrounding areas. And we've all got a horse in this race right now. Everyone at this table has a favorite. Wayne, I don't want to have you put you on the spot, but who are you going to be watching the closest tonight?
Well, this might go back to my human resources background, and when I was a recruiter for PepsiCo for a 5-state area, I saw a lot of resumes, and a lot of people put on their resumes job descriptions, but not what they actually did. I want to know what someone has accomplished in their position, and that's why I kind of lean a little bit towards someone with what I call executive experience, a governor. That's not totally exclusive. I can vote for anyone else, but I know governors have a track record, and they can point to that record. And I'm not endorsing anyone right now because it's too early for me, but I know Scott Walker probably has a very good track record as a governor, particularly during the recession period, unlike Jeb Bush, who was a governor, but he didn't have all the challenges that Scott Walker did. So I'm going to be looking at what people have done and what they plan to do with that experience in the future.
Excellent. All right, Scott, who are you watching the closest?
Well, I have 3 actually in my top. I will say Scott Walker is in my top 3 because anyone who can run 3 times in 4 years for an office, and the Democrats can't find anything on them, has got to be good enough that maybe we cannot have an October surprise.
Go Wisconsin.
I like Marco Rubio. I think he has an inspiring story. I think he is an effective communicator. I think he learned a lesson on his comprehensive immigration suggestion that he put out there. He saw that it failed, and he said, you know what? This didn't work. And so he's rethought that. Of all the websites I visited, his by far has the most detail of policy on there, especially when it comes to student loans, when it comes to foreign policy. And the economy is important to me. It's important to most of us in this room, I think, and most of America. But I will tell you that if asked George Bush what he thought his most important task was going to be, foreign policy or the economy, and it turned out for the first 4 years, it was foreign policy and terrorism. And I'm looking for that. And then I have a third, Carly Fiorina, just for fun.
Yeah. Okay, Holly?
I'm a big Carly fan just because I like the strong woman presence in the race. I think it's important to have her voice. Obviously, we need that on our side to counteract what we have going on the Democratic side. But like I said earlier, just looking for the rough around the edges. I'm opposite of Wayne. I don't want the canned politician that's been there, forever and is beholden to so many people. I'm more of a Ben Carson, Donald Trump, the people, Carly, that comes from a business background. And I do look at people like that as having an executive experience. I mean, obviously Donald Trump has ran major empires, and so has Carly, and in his own way with all the different departments that Ben Carson has ran. I mean, he has that experience, I consider, as well. And if we look at what I consider to be the greatest president, Ronald Reagan, he didn't come in with that executive experience. He was just a true leader. And I believe that we have some key candidates that could fill that true leader spot and not be a governor or a senator or a congressman currently.
Okay. Marilyn?
I don't trust Rubio anymore. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I really like the other guys. Trump is my man. So far, there are a few things he said that I thought was a little off the cuff, and you got to clean yourself up when you talk without a speech in front of you.
Uh-huh.
But Scott Walker and Carson, and I love Carly.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And it's not because she's a woman. I
No,
know people
she's
are
not.
watching this right now and they're like, oh, they just like her because she's a girl. No, that's truly not it. She
Listen
is.
to her.
You think Sarah Palin was a pit bull with lipstick? I mean, Carly makes her fade to black. I mean, she's just not even close to what Carly
Carly
is.
spent the entire month of June following Hillary Clinton around
She did.
in South Carolina and Iowa, and said to the media who could not get access to Hillary, I'm right here, I'll be happy to talk to you.
Uh-huh.
Now, somebody who has the guts enough to follow around who they want to be their opponent and say, if the media won't talk to her, I'll talk to the media. She put herself out there, now, of course, they didn't cover her.
Right.
They did somewhat, but not as much as you would hope that she would. And I mean, she's going, look, I'll answer any question you have. I'm not scared to talk to you.
That's
And
the
that's
thing.
what I like
She's
about
not
her.
afraid.
I'm not scared to talk to you about the issue.
Yeah. I called her, I actually called her Hillary's dingleberry while she was doing that. Because everywhere Clinton, there she was again. I'm like, wow, she's just attached.
Yep.
How about you, Doug? We have about, let me look at the time here, because we are about 13 minutes away from the debate.
Well, I'm really coming into this with an open mind. However, I have two people that I'm really interested in tonight. Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really interested in what he says,
Yes.
not what people said he says.
Mhm.
I want to hear firsthand what he says. And the other one is Mike Huckabee, God and country.
There you go.
I don't know how else to say it. God and country.
No grits?
God and country.
They're talking about his book, just so you know. Okay.
Being an Arkansas boy.
Yes. Yeah. Gotcha.
Go Hogs.
Yeah.
Razorbacks.
So, I'm undecided, but the show tonight is Donald Trump. Let's be honest. And it's been made that way. And so that's what you're going to have to watch. And you're going to have to watch if he dies the death of 1,000 pricks. He's going to learn what it's like to be a Clinton tonight on stage, because everybody on that stage is shooting for him, including the moderators. This whole thing is going to be about what they can do to Donald Trump to knock him off that pedestal and discredit him.
I think that's
So,
sad.
And
They
it
should
is
leave
sad.
each other alone.
But again, it gets back to the nature of this political process,
Mhm.
and there's no changing that. As
You know
much
what,
as we
though?
say we hate it, there is the reality of it. And so there is what, it's not that he's the end all be all, and the chances of him being the Republican nominee, I think, are small. It's 30%. Wherever his polls are right now, it's probably as good as it's going to get, unless he shocks and surprises all of us. So that's going to be the focus, not only of us, but the people participating and staging this debate tonight.
Hey, it's going to be the most watched cable event in all of history, I think. And Marilyn,
I
are you
agree.
going to interject something there?
That's okay.
Okay. Dylan, who are you looking at tonight? Who's your fave?
Well, I'm still kind of like open-minded, like Doug said, but my main focus is Donald Trump. I just like the way he is. I like the way he acts. I mean, everybody does stupid things, but he's to the point. He don't play around, and I like that about him. I've also kind of got my eye on Rand Paul, but since Trump, if he falls, then I'll go to Paul. But other than,
I'm a little worried that Rand is going to be hurt because he's Ron's kid.
yeah,
And Ron was just kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, if you
Yeah, he
ask
was,
me. I
yeah.
just never really got it. But Rand is a good guy, obviously, Kentucky. So we have to look at him a little closer because, the the next president of the United States could be from a couple hundred miles away. And that's a big deal because he gets us. He doesn't go on the air like the leftists and the leastists from the left and least coasts and say that, you know, they're out there thumping with the uneducated white people in the middle part of the country. You know, way to anger, you know, 2/3 of the population with your elitism. And, you know, when Hillary breaks out the fake drawl, I swear to you, I want mud or Jello in a ring and call her out because I just can't take it anymore. She's making me nuts. But anyway, how about you, Michael?
I'm looking really hard at Donald Trump tonight. I also do like Ben Carson. He came out right at the beginning pretty early. The social issues.
Okay, I'll put that down again.
The social issues are what's going to really end up bogging down a lot of people, I feel. You said earlier that a lot of people just hear something on the TV and that's who they run and vote with, and that's why people are going to really have to pay attention. This race is going to be so important because so many people are just garbage fed from the media. They're like, oh, they said this, okay, I'm just going to run with that. But I'm really looking at Trump because Trump has been very vocal from pretty much this this president's campaign. He has come out and said quite a bit of stuff and stuck to it very hard. So he's called out for a lot of things and has been very against these people. So he's right now my number one that I really like, Carson. A lot of the other ones who've been running before, I think Ted Cruz is just a career. Isn't he always running every time there's a presidential election?
No,
He's new.
No, he's
Is he
new.
new?
Ted Cruz
Okay.
is the new guy. Huckabee is always running.
Huckabee is, okay. I know there was a couple that career runners.
There are a few. I'm just gonna, obviously, we know who I'm here for. Because the man has been on my show 3 times. He makes time for everyone. He grew up in Detroit and had anger issues. His mother dropped out of school in the 3rd grade and could barely read. But when she would be working in rich people's houses, cleaning their toilets, she would see they had big houses and nice cars, but they also had a lot of books. So she figured the way to get those things for her children was to make them read. And could she have been more right? You know, so his background, I always say he started out as a liberal and then he grew into a Republican because he understood that no one's a victim. You know, we have all these people believing that they're victims in this country, but clearly you don't have to be one. All you have to do is assert yourself. And that is his story. And yes, he's accomplished, and no, he's not run a country or a state, or he's never been a politician. But when you talk to him, he will not lie to you. He will tell you what he thinks. And if he doesn't know the answer, he'll tell you, I don't know. And I love that about him. I think we just need this.
To find out.
Exactly. He's so fresh. He's so new. And he didn't even really want to run in the beginning, but he's been talked into it by hundreds and thousands and millions of people who love him. So I'm all in for Ben. But other than him, I love Donald Trump. I've always been a Donald Trump fan. And right behind him is Scott Walker. You know, those are my top 3. The rest of them are all just kind of, I just want to see what they're going to say to try to keep themselves in the race as long as they can. But eventually they're all dropping out. I do not want Jeb Bush anywhere near the White House.
No.
I don't want another Clinton anywhere near the White House. We've had enough of that for one lifetime.
Absolutely.
So that's how I feel about it. We are just about to join. We are watching Fox News here on a monitor as well, and they are doing their I don't know what we want to call them, their experts, if you will, that are coming. They look like they're 14 years old, so I don't know how they're experts on anything. But they are doing their expert opinions, and they're analyzing everybody right now, and that is about to start. And truly, I have never been this excited, Wayne, about a debate in my entire life. And I know maybe it's because I'm old now, but when I was younger and was barely paying attention to politics, they couldn't get me interested. Right now, we have 2 very young people right here who are very interested in what these men have to say. Isn't that a great sign?
Well, that is great, and I kind of think of it, I think we have a good field of candidates, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at it as being in the Air Force for 25 years, so I moved every 3 or 4 years, so I had to buy a new home. And at the end of the week, we've compared and said, well, I like the kitchen in that home, the garage in this one, the family room in this one, etc. And so if I could just take apart each home and put it together, I'd have
Good
an
analogy.
ideal home. And I think that is the way with a lot of these candidates. Each bring something special to the table. Every one of them is going to be tough to see which one is the one that rises to the top after it. But I think the key is it may not be, in my opinion, what you feel is the best candidate. We also have to look at which one can beat Hillary or whoever the Democrat is. That's going to be critical.
Yeah, if she gets in, folks, I'm telling you, I don't know that we can come back from it. I'm very worried. And I want a full repeal of Obamacare. I want to hear who's
Yes.
going to talk about that tonight, too. It has to be fully repealed.
You know, Ben Carson, I watched the New Hampshire forum that they had. It wasn't a debate, it was a forum, so they weren't in violation of RNC rules. And I really liked what he had to say about his healthcare policy. And it really struck me because I was thinking back that Rick Santorum had been talking about this in 2012 about healthcare medical savings accounts. And I think that that is something that, and what Ben said is you would have a system where you would have a medical savings account and it's my money. And so I decide, do I want to go to the doctor and write the doctor a check out of my medical savings account? And for catastrophic care, you would have an insurance policy that would start at $10,000. And so anything above $10,000, then you would have medical insurance that would kick in, which is kind of similar to actually what Cape Girardeau County's health insurance is. It's a self-insured program. But on a personal level, I like the idea of that because if you change jobs, your savings account goes with you.
But that's because you understand it's not an entitlement. We have too
Right.
many people who think they are entitled to free healthcare
Well,
because of this administration.
That's not necessarily, that's not something that I think everybody shouldn't have universal. I think they should have access.
Mhm.
Obviously, we all need access to healthcare, especially rural healthcare. I mean, there are parts of our state that doesn't have a lot of healthcare, and they don't have cancer screenings and things like that. They have to travel really far for that, and so we have some issues there. But personal responsibility
Exactly.
is the key, and I really like that about Carson's statement about his healthcare policy. And he even made the comment. He says, it seems like everybody gives me the healthcare questions. I can answer more than that.
Yeah.
And I thought that's a good way to start out your answer. I can answer more than healthcare, but by the way, this is what I think on healthcare.
Excellent. We have about 4 minutes before we get started. Any final comments before we break to watch the debates? I don't think there'll be any turnbuckles or anything on this thing. Okay.
I was just going to say, I hope some of these candidates do address some of these social issues, because the younger demographic is only focused on gender issues. Has been a really big thing if you look out in the news and social media. And so what I feel the Democrats may rely on is a lot of, if we don't have a female in the office or even as a VP, they're going to pull that card a lot. And so they're used to dirty tricks and cheap tactics to get whatever they can. So I hope some of these candidates recognize and are willing to address some of those social issues. But the economy is, for me, first and foremost.
Yes.
I want to see a phoenix rise out of the ashes tonight. That's what I want to see. And I want it to be our country. So I don't know if a 1-minute answer and a 30-second rebuttal is going to be enough for us to learn as much as we're hoping for tonight. But let's hope it's just pandemonium and everybody just says what they want to say and we all get to learn as much as we want to know. But with that being said, I think tonight is going to be a huge learning process for a lot of America on what it's like to have this many people interested in putting their lives out there for everyone to judge, because they're going to be picked apart with a fine-tooth comb because they're conservatives. And we're going to be learning a lot more about what they've done since 4th grade. So having this many interested in running is a big deal.
And Wayne can attest to this. It's like living in a fishbowl under a microscope.
Mm-hmm. It's frightening.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we have so many good people. And Doug would be a great president. But, nobody wants it. He's also Elvis. I don't believe Elvis is dead, folks. But I'm just saying, we have so many great people who would run for office if it wasn't like this. And I think, honestly, that Ben Carson is one of those people.
And he
That-
didn't want to run.
He didn't want to, but he's,
Sometimes that's the best.
yeah, and he's not squeaky clean. And he's done some stupid things in his life. He and his brother. And I mean, come on, Bill Clinton's little brother, give me a break. So we have so many things that they're going to be bringing out about these candidates, but we need to stay focused on the issues and what's important to us. And I think that's what we're hoping to see tonight.
I want a candidate who loves our country, not our government, not what the government's about. But I want
Amen.
somebody that is for our country, for the people. It's of the people, by the people, instead of themselves and for their pocketbooks.
Yeah. And how much time do we have left? Because they're already starting to chat at the desk here. We're awaiting the start of the first GOP primary for the American presidency. But Boyce, I want to come back to you with the 2.5 minutes that we have left, and that is a firm time. So we have to get in and get out. But I want to know with you, in the years that you've been voting, do you ever get the guy that you want in office? Because I always feel like I don't.
Well, Yeah, I've gotten lucky a couple of times.
Okay.
And I think that's part of the process. But as this begins, this will change this campaign. That's what we're going to watch happen right now. It will begin to change and define itself by the way the American people react to what they see and hear tonight. There will be moments that will galvanize the country and the people viewing tonight. There will be moments that excite the country tonight. There will be moments that will be a make or break for more than one of these people on this stage tonight. And it may be a statement and a brief reply that makes all the difference in the world of how a candidate handles themselves under pressure and at the right moment, at the right time, with exactly what it takes to make a difference. So
Well,
that's what's coming right now.
It's very exciting. I hope that Marco Rubio doesn't take a sip of water or anything tonight, God forbid. But they are going to be run through the mill after this. And remember, Rick Perry had a brain fart when he was on the last time and couldn't remember one of the things he wanted to
There's an
say.
example.
And he's been called stupid ever since, and the man
He's
is not
not.
stupid.
No.
The guy's
So,
great. I
yeah.
don't mind him, Chris.
All right, folks, we are going to leave you here and head to the debate. You all watch it at home. We're going to take a little break, have something to eat from Dexter Barbecue because we love them. They love us, and they are the best barbecue place in all of Missouri, Dexter Barbecue. All right, so we're going to watch the debate now, and we'll be back with you here live on the internet, KZIM KSIM.com, right after the debate with our thoughts of what we heard the candidates say. I'm Fawn Riggin. We appreciate you tuning in. We'll see you right after the debates.